Have you ever felt yourself about to cry in front of someone and somehow your whole body locked the tears inside? Your throat tightened, your eyes burned, but nothing came out. Then later, when you were finally alone, in the shower, in the car, or lying in bed with the lights off, the tears came all at once. Most people would call that being private, or strong, or emotionally controlled. But psychology may see something much older, because a child does not learn calm by being told to calm down. They learn it from another person. A hand on the back, a voice that says, "I'm here," a body that stays steady while theirs falls apart. That is co-regulation. A child borrows calm from someone who has enough calm to give, and over time, their body learns a message that becomes part of them. I can be upset and still be held. I can fall apart and still come back. I do not have to survive every feeling alone. Now imagine a child who never got that. Not always through cruelty, not always through abuse, sometimes through absence, a busy parent, a tired house, a room where crying changed nothing. That child still had to calm down. So they learned how. Alone. They found comfort in whatever stayed consistent. Private rituals, small, controllable things, silence, distance, and the kind of safety that did not depend on another person showing up. And from the outside, this child may have looked mature, easy, independent, the kind of child adults praise because they do not make too much noise. But some children are not easy because they are peaceful. Some children are easy because they have learned that needing comfort costs too much. That is the painful truth. What looked like self-control may have been a survival system built too early. What looked like strength may have been a wound wearing the clothes of maturity. Because self-regulation was never supposed to begin in isolation. It was supposed to grow from being held, heard, and helped back into safety. Self-regulation is the sequel. Co-regulation is the first chapter. And when that first chapter is missing, the body still adapts. It builds a life around the tools it had. But years later, that child can become an adult who looks calm on the outside, while the part of them that learned to survive still believes comfort is something they must manufacture alone. So if this already feels too familiar, stay with this. Because the habits that look like personality may be old survival skills. And the things you do alone today may be echoes of the comfort you never received. If a part of this feels uncomfortably close, you can leave a comment with the words, "alone too early." Not to explain your whole childhood. Not to prove anything. Just as a quiet way of saying, I learned this before I should have had to. And one of the first echoes of that missing comfort is silence. Not the peaceful kind. The kind that appears when something hurts, but the body no longer believes. Sound will bring anyone closer. This is what many adults learn to do. They disappear emotionally. Not physically. They can still sit in the room. They can still answer messages, make dinner, smile at the right moments, and say, "I'm fine." But when something hurts, the sound leaves them. As children, their crying did not bring anyone closer. Maybe it was ignored. Maybe it was punished. Maybe someone sighed, changed the subject, or told them they were being dramatic. So the body learned a simple rule. If pain does not bring comfort, hide the pain. And years later, that rule still runs quietly underneath them. When they are upset, they do not reach for the phone. They do not say, "Can you stay with me?" They do not fall apart where someone can see it. They go silent. They become still. They retreat into the private room inside their own body and wait for the feeling to pass. People may mistake this for strength. They may think they handle things so well. But silence is not always peace. Sometimes silence is the sound of someone doing alone what a human being was supposed to learn through connection. This is why emotion can disappear the moment another person gets close enough to see it. Alone, the tears may come easily. In the shower, in the car, at night, when the room is dark and no one is watching. But when someone else is there, the body closes the door. The throat tightens, the eyes burn. The feeling stays trapped behind the face. Not because the emotion is fake, because vulnerability once meant exposure without relief. That is a very specific kind of memory. The mind may forget the exact room, the exact age, the exact day, but the body remembers the pattern. I opened and nothing came. So now it protects itself by closing first. This also becomes the reason they carry pain privately. They go through breakups without telling anyone until weeks later. They receive bad news and keep functioning. They grieve in small, hidden pockets of time between work, errands, and messages they still answer politely. When someone finally asks, "Why didn't you tell me?" they may not know how to explain. Because the truth is not simple. Telling someone never felt like relief. It felt like risk. It felt like making the pain visible without knowing whether anyone would know what to do with it. So they learned to wait until the storm passed before letting anyone know there had been a storm at all. This does not mean they do not want support. Often, they want it deeply. They just do not know how to reach before they have already survived. And that is the wound hidden inside quietness. It is not emotional maturity. It is a child's old conclusion, still living in an adult body. If no one comes when I cry, I will learn not to cry where anyone can hear me. And when pain learns to go quiet, the body still has to do something with it. A child cannot live forever in panic. If no one brings calm from the outside, the body starts searching for substitutes. At first, it may look like rhythm, rocking back and forth, twisting hair, rubbing fingers together, tapping a foot under the table, small, repeated movements that tell the body to stay here, stay steady, stay alive. From the outside, these can look like habits, but for some people, repetition was the first lullaby they had control over. No one patted their back. No one rocked with them. So their body built its own metronome. Years later, that rhythm may look different. Endless scrolling, skin picking, rearranging a drawer that did not need rearranging, walking the same path through the house while trying to calm down. The behavior changed. The function stayed. The rhythm is still trying to soothe the part of them that was never soothed by another person. Sometimes the substitute is warmth, a long shower after a hard day, a hot mug held with both hands, a blanket pulled tightly around the shoulders even when the room is not cold. It can look like preference, but the body may be reaching for something older than comfort. Human warmth was not available, so physical warmth became the closest thing. The heat becomes a quiet imitation of being held, a way for the body to feel bordered, grounded, and gently called back from wherever the panic had taken it. And sometimes the substitute is food. It was not carelessness. It was not lack of discipline. It was the body reaching for something reliable when people were not. A snack could create a pause. Fullness could feel like being filled from the inside. Or the opposite could happen. Appetite disappears completely because the body is too busy surviving to receive anything. Either way, the system learned to connect distress with control, consumption, or refusal. If this is helping you understand your body with a little less shame, a like helps this reach someone else who has been calling their coping habits weakness for too long. And if someone comes to mind, share it with them. Because these behaviors are not random. They are not just quirks. They are the adult versions of a child trying to create regulation out of whatever was available. So the body reached for whatever stayed consistent. A repeated motion, a warm surface, something to eat, something to refuse, something small enough to control when care from people had never felt reliable. And this is why judging the behavior alone misses the story underneath it. The body was not trying to be difficult. It was trying to survive the absence of comfort. It found replacements. They helped, but they were never supposed to become the only places a person could feel safe. And when the body has spent years surviving on substitutes, something painful can happen. Real care starts to feel unfamiliar. Not because you do not want it, but because your body never learned how to receive it without bracing. Maybe someone reaches for your hand when you are upset, and your first reaction is not relief. It is tension. A partner wraps their arms around you, and your shoulders rise before they soften. A friend says, "You don't have to talk. I can just sit with you." And some part of you wants to disappear. You say, "I'm fine." You say, "You don't have to." You say, "It's not a big deal." But underneath those words is not rejection. It is an old protective reflex. When comfort did not come often enough, or came with impatience, conditions, awkwardness, or emotional debt, the body had to make a decision. Care is not safe to expect. So later, when care finally appears, it does not enter a neutral system. It enters a system already trained to scan for the catch. Will they get tired of me? Will I owe them something? Will they use this against me? Will they leave once they see how much I need? This is why being soothed can feel harder than soothing yourself. Alone, you know the rules. Alone, no one can disappoint you. Alone, no one can hold you wrong, ask too much, become annoyed, or make your pain feel like an inconvenience. So the body chooses the route it trusts. Solitude. The house gets quiet and your shoulders drop. The last person leaves and your breathing deepens. The door closes and your muscles finally unclench. People may call this introversion. Sometimes it is, but sometimes it is something else. A body that only learned how to settle when no one else was in the room. Not all comfort feels like comfort to a body that learned not to expect it. And the most confusing part is that you may still want connection deeply. You may want someone to notice, to stay, to hold your sadness without trying to fix it or judge it. But wanting comfort and being able to receive comfort are not the same thing. Your mind may say, I want to be held, while your body says, this is dangerous. That contradiction can make you feel broken, distant, or impossible to love. But you are not impossible. You are adapted. Your body is not rejecting love because it hates love. It is protecting itself from a kind of hope that once had nowhere to land. And healing begins slowly, when care is allowed to arrive in small, tolerable doses. A text you do not dismiss immediately. A hug you let last 1 second longer. A moment where you say, I don't need advice, I just need you here. Because the goal is not to force yourself to need people overnight. The goal is to teach your body, little by little, that another person's presence does not always mean danger. Sometimes it can mean rest. When comfort from others feels unsafe, many people learn to build a parent inside themselves. Not a perfect parent, not always a gentle one, but a voice that gets them through the moment. It becomes the voice that says, keep going when no one else is there to say it first. It talks them through panic, decisions, grief, and ordinary days that feel too large to carry. From the outside, people may call this self-awareness, and sometimes it is, but sometimes it is also the sound of a child who had to become their own calm adult because no calm adult arrived often enough. No one named the fear. No one said, this makes sense. No one sat beside them long enough for the feeling to become survivable, so they learned to narrate their own pain. They became the coach, the witness, the manager, the parent, and the child all at once. And this is why they may become so good at comforting other people. They know exactly what to say when someone is falling apart. They notice when a friend needs space and when they need presence. They show up with patience, steadiness, soup, silence, or the one sentence that makes another person feel less alone. And their care is real, but underneath it, there can be a quiet ache. They are giving the thing they needed first. They are trying, sometimes without knowing it, to close a loop that was left open in childhood. That is why being the strong one can become lonely. People come to them because they feel safe, but rarely imagine that the safe person also needs somewhere to fall apart. They become the shelter, but not the one being sheltered. They become the calm voice, but not the one being calmed. And over time, this can turn into a life where they are needed more than they are held. If this is you, there is nothing wrong with the self-soothing you built. It was not weakness. It was not drama. It was a feat of engineering. A child, alone with feelings too big for their body, found a way to survive without the help that should have been there. That deserves compassion. But survival has limits. The tools that kept you alive may not be the same tools that help you feel loved. Self-soothing can keep you functioning. It can keep you steady. It can get you through the night, but it was never the same as being held. You do not have to stop being independent. You do not have to forget how to comfort yourself. You only have to learn, slowly, that your body is allowed to add another option. Not all at once. Not by forcing yourself open, but through small experiences of care that stay long enough for your body to stop bracing. Being soothed by another person is not weakness. It is not neediness. It is part of how the human nervous system was designed to heal. And maybe healing is not becoming someone who never needs comfort. Maybe healing is becoming someone who can finally receive it without feeling ashamed. If this video gave words to something you have carried quietly, subscribe to Cortex Psychology for more deep psychology videos about childhood wounds, emotional neglect, nervous system healing, and the hidden patterns that shape who we become. You were not too much. You were just alone too early. And now, comfort does not have to stay something you only know how to give.